Welcome back, Bears fans, to the CHGO Bears Podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. And what is going on, everybody? It is Friday, a.k.a. CHGO Audible Day. We are back again, baby. What's up, Nick?
What's going on, Will? I feel like it's been a while since we've had our traditional Friday Audible show. I can't even honestly remember when the last one was.
May 4th is the Star Wars Spectacular that we did.
Yes. That was a good one. That was a good one. I like that one. We had some cool segments that you thought of the day before, and yeah, that was a good show.
There's already people in the chat thinking I came up with the headline, by the way, of the double digits. And like, don't do it, Will. Don't do it after last year's 11-win victory, prediction that I had there. And I'm going to be honest with everyone here. You're the one that came up with this idea for today. You let me know last night, like, hey, just letting you know, this is what we're going to do for the show. Loved it. But definitely I can understand why people think it was me. But if they do think that, they are incorrect.
They are incorrect. Well, I don't know if you guys gave out your predictions for when the schedule was released or if you guys went into that. Like, I'll say, like, I don't have an exact prediction, but I could see anywhere from that 7 to 10 range. And that's where it's kind of double digit idea came from for me. But did you have like a set, this is what I think is going to happen, or even a range that you think is going to happen? I put a poll on Twitter yesterday, and that 7 to 9 range has the majority of the votes. But I feel like that's like, where Bears fans are majority like thinking right now.
Yeah, 7 to 9, I think, is safe. It feels like, obviously, that would be a drastic improvement compared to last year win-wise. That's more than double your wins at the bare minimum. And it just would be, I think, a successful season for the Bears. And that's where I would lean in terms of reasonable expectations for this team. But when it comes to, like, hey, what is the ceiling? What can they exactly do? Like, there is a possibility of achieving a little bit more. And I know that's our first topic that we'll kind of get in here today, but I am excited to kind of get into that here with you. We're going to talk about the chances of the Bears getting double-digit victories in 2023. I think we'll do a quick update from a couple of current Bears, Darnell Mooney being on the St. Browns Brothers podcast, and Cole Kmet has some interesting words to say about Justin Fields and the Bears too, while he's up in the press box for was that a high school baseball game? I think is what I was able to gather from that.
Yeah, I don't even, I would have to go back and watch the clip again, but it was a baseball game. We know that for sure.
It was up there. It definitely wasn't a Cubs or a Sox game. I'll tell you that.
No. Well, I mean, considering how many people actually go to Sox games, they look pretty similar with how they're playing. How the Cubs and Sox are playing, frankly. But yeah, no, so good stuff by you, Will, sending that over to me and just kind of, seeing what Cole Kmet said. So a lot of cool Bears topics. Will, did you see like all the social media team, like the Bears social media? They've been posting a bunch of pictures of like the draft picks and stuff, but one kind of bothered me a little bit. It was the Kyler Gordon picture where he's jumping up, clearly doing like the Spider-Man web slinging, hand gesture, and they put, I don't know, like Kung Fu Kyler. And yes, he does do Kung Fu, but the man literally is like this, shooting the web. Like, no, that you screwed that one up. The new movie's about to come out, the animated one, Into the Spider-Verse, and like that was a miss by the Bears social media team. Usually they're pretty good on everything, but
why are we doing the same hand gestures again? I don't understand how that's happening here. Like, hey, how's it going? But maybe they couldn't say Spider-Man. Maybe there's like some legal thing where they just went generic and just went with Kung Fu Kyler over there. But I've seen him come out. I didn't really pick up on that one. There it is. Obviously it's Spider-Man. And then he even tweeted it. So he's like, hold on, guys, hold on. At least I can say it, but maybe I guess the social media department was being a little extra cautious. Maybe they have, Bears money. They don't want to waste the money for Arlington Heights on a lawsuit, Marvel and Spider-Man there. That's just my gut.
Yeah, that'd be not something that they want to pay, but it's cool to see all that stuff come out. I see a comment here. Nick versus Will in Super Smash Bros. Who's winning? Hey, I'm down. I haven't played Smash in a long, long time, but Will, you're already giving me the victory. I'll take it. If it's like the one version that we played back in training camp when we were playing that new one that came out that's like Smash, but not Smash. I don't even remember the name of it off the top of my head, but had some weird ass characters that you could like download it illegally.
Kept whipping my ass and throwing me off the platform. That's all I'm gonna say. You just kept throwing me off and beating me up. So I would Nick. But if you want to talk about football and Madden, I would hand 10 days ahead.
Yeah,
right
guy right there.
Which way is it? All right, Nick. I'm happy you're back from vacation. I'm sure you talked about it a little bit yesterday, so I'm glad you're back. I'm sure it's great. But I want to talk some Chicago Bears, if that's okay with you.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, hell, simple question, complicated answer time. Nick, can the Bears get double-digit victories in 2023, this upcoming season, after finishing, obviously, with the worst record in the entire league, earned that number 1 overall pick, last in the division, only 3 wins? But can they find a way to flip the script here in 2023? And I feel like there has to be a chance if you pose the question for us.
Yeah, and so like, can they and will they? Completely different questions, right? Well, can they get double-digit victories after only winning 3 games in 2022? Yes, there is a possibility, a way the Bears can. I was doing a little bit of research, and I'm going to have an article come out later today with more extensive, just kind of background. And just looking at the last decade, well, for teams that have finished with the worst record in the NFL, the least amount of wins, looking at the last decade, only one team in the NFL, going back to 2012, the Chiefs, who were 2-14 that year, have actually went on the next season to get double-digit victories. And they finished 11-5. They get Eric Fisher with the first overall pick. They go from Matt Castle as their quarterback in 2012 to Alex Smith in 2013 and get the 11 wins. But the Detroit Lions last season were pretty darn close, winning nine games after going 3-13-1 in 2021. So if you look at history, most likely saying, hey, the Bears are probably not going to get there. But just looking at some of those teams that came close, those 2 in particular, you're in a better chance to get close to that double-digit win mark, or actually get there, if you do have a veteran quarterback. Because I was also looking at those teams in the last decade. 6 of those teams drafted a quarterback with their first pick. And obviously, Fields is going into year 3, as opposed to those other teams that finished with the worst record, drafted a rookie quarterback. They saw their wins go up, even if it was just by 1 win the next season. But it's most likely that if you have a quarterback that's been in the league, who has some continuity like the Bears do with their coaching staff, they're going to have a better opportunity to get more wins. And I think that's the case for how Bears fans are looking at 2023. They're going to have more wins. But can they? Yes. Will they? I don't know. Well, it's kind of to win 7 more games than they did last season, even though they were 1-7 in 1-score games last season. It's hard to do. It's hard to do in the NFL.
It is difficult, but the 1-score games you mentioned, I can go back to how much they've improved this defense. The linebacking group has gone from one of the worst in the entire league after they traded Roquan Smith to arguably, I would say, a top 2 to 3 linebacking group in the entire country. On top of that, too, the front 7, the defensive line, interior strengthened, edge rusher, not here yet, but I do believe that is coming our way. And the secondary, you got yourself another starting outside corner. I do think those 1-score games could go the opposite direction now with having a defense you can rely on. How many times did Justin get this team right there and held him in? And then at the end, there's a defense that kind of fell apart. That happened a few times, but I don't expect that to be exactly the same. So, Nick, you said you had stats and you mentioned a few of the teams. And when you say you're bringing numbers, you're challenging me to really start digging here. So I am ready to rock and roll with you. I got just last year, you mentioned the Lions going from 3 wins 2 years ago to 9 last season. The Jaguars did the same thing. They went from 3 to 9 over there in the AFC South. And the Giants, with the new head coach with Brian Dable, went from 4 wins in 2021 up to 9 last year too. Again, none of those teams made double-digit wins, but they were knocking at the door. And I kept going further. You mentioned the Chiefs in 2012, 2013. The Colts did it in 2011 and 2012 with the 2 wins and then following up with 11. And I literally went back all the way to 1980 is when that happened. But just a few more that I see here. The Dolphins in 2007, 1 win. Then in 2008, they had 11 wins. So they were able to do that. You mentioned there Kansas City. There's a few others, but On top of that too, Nick, there's a bunch of teams since the 2010s, the Chiefs, you mentioned they went from worst to first in their division. Texans did it again in 2013, 2014. Washington did it in 2019 and 2020, and the Browns also did it from 2019 and 2020. So there have been teams who can go from first to worst in the division, from a 3 or less wins to double-digit wins. It's all possible. It just doesn't happen all too often, but I can't help but feel like the Bears do have reasons to believe it could happen. I mentioned the defense. We can talk all day about how much the offense has gotten improved. The schedule, I know you weren't here for the reaction, but most rest since I think over 22 years, which is crazy. Like since the year 2000, they have the most rest now coming into all these games with those 2 Thursday night games in the bye week. That's huge. You're playing a little bit of an easier schedule than you did the year before. There's just a lot of little things that I think will start to add up that could really make this, I think, an interesting season for the Bears. And I can see it being November where double digits is still a possibility. It'll be about how they finish that second half of the season. But I do expect them to be in contention to reach this milestone. It's just a matter of execution.
That's exactly what it is. Well, like, again, I said, I was like, hint, I already started writing the article. That's how it finishes. Like, basically, maybe the Bears might not get there, but I really see them being close to that mark by the end of 2023. And another thing that I don't think is going to happen this upcoming season that happened last year, the Bears are not going to get swept in the NFC North. That happened last year, right? And with Aaron Rodgers now gone, it is wide open with probably the Lions being the front runners at this division right now. But when you look at the NFC North and how much improvement the Bears have made on both sides of the ball, like you mentioned, it is wide open. It might be a little shaky at first because a lot of what Andrew Janocko, Luke Getsy were talking about kind of early on is the chemistry that Fields is going to have to develop with all these new players. And look, it's going to take maybe more than an offseason, maybe half of this upcoming year, maybe a quarter of it, to finally get for Fields to get in sync with all of his new weapons that he has in this offense. And if maybe the back end of the year they're playing better football than the beginning, I think still Bears fans will like that outcome. So I just think that when it's all said and done, like the Bears are not going to finish last, or I think it was second to last, with rushing yards given up, right? Because they were atrocious last year. Now you have 2 linebackers that have range. You have more defensive interior up front that's going to allow these linebackers to roam free and hopefully get to opposing running backs to stop the running game. So there are a lot of areas you can look at where the Bears got better. And yes, it all has to play out in the games, but looking at it from here, the Bears, they're going to win more games. Like it's going to happen. There was only here are the only teams like in the last decade that didn't. It was the Browns. Like they finished with the worst record 3 years in a row. And somehow they went from 2015 to 2016. They won 3 games, 2015, won 1 game in 2016. And then in 2016, they won 1. They won 0 the next year. So that's the one team you don't want to be. And the Bears are not in that situation. They never had a quarterback like Justin Fields. They obviously have more playmakers than they did last year. So just a lot of reasons to believe the Bears are going to be better. They're going to be more competitive, and they're going to win games.
Torian made a really good point in the comments a few minutes ago about going 5-11 in 2017. And then, of course, we know the Bears flipped the script and went 12-4 the following year. And Nick, I mean, when you look at that 2018 roster, and we covered it, and that was just so much fun. It came out of nowhere. The Khalil Mack trade right before the season put the cherry on top, and we knew it was going to be a really fun year. But you can look at quarterback. You had Mitch, and now we have Justin. I think we would both prefer our current quarterback situation. You look at the running back room. You had Cohen and Jordan Howard. There's no reason why I don't think we can have similar results this year with the running back room that we have with Rojo, Khalil Herbert, Foreman. Wide receiver, Gabriel Robinson, and then Miller. And then we have DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, EQ. I mean, we have some other, we have Tyler Scott too. I do think when you compare this team to 2018 team, there are reasons to be like, they're actually a little bit better than maybe that team was. Do you think that Darnell Wright's an upgrade over Bobby Massey? I think he's an upgrade over Bobby Massey. So there's just so many things that you can look at. Of course, you don't have the same core guys on defense in terms of like Khalil Mack being the big one, Leonard Floyd being paired with him. But when you look at like linebacker, Roquan Smith, Danny Trevathan, I think Edwards and Edmonds and Sanborn can be just right there with him this year. And then the secondary, very similar too, in terms of like being a really strong unit. Again, like, and that was a team who did it with Matt Nagy of all people coaching this team, and with Mitch Trubisky at quarterback. I feel really confident just, looking at that season and how the roster was shaped, how this one's shaping up to be, with the understanding it's not complete right now. Feeling better about the Bears' chances of, competing. I mean, there's no Aaron Rodgers in the division right now. That's another big benefit for us. You just talked about that too. So I again, is it possible? I want to say abso-freaking-lutely it's possible. I'm excited to see how it shakes out. It's just a matter of, will they get it done? But on paper, Nick, this is looking very promising.
It is. And going back to that 2018 team, as much fun as it was, like the defense overshadowed a lot of what the actual holes were on that roster, which we didn't see initially, right? The offense, yes, at times did its thing, but the defense really bailed them out so many games and was able to create all these turnovers, which is usually you can't repeat it consistently year after year. So you take that out of the equation, now you're looking at a team that maybe the 12-4 record wasn't exactly how that team actually was in terms of the talent and, obviously what it did in 2019. We saw it all kind of unfold in debacle, and we saw coaching not being able to make adjustments. And that's what we got to see now too. That's also a wild card that we obviously haven't seen yet because the season hasn't happened. But how does this coaching staff adapt now from year one to year two with Eberflus, Getsy, Alan Williams? And we'll have to wait and see on that. But look, right now, if you're a Bears fan feeling optimistic, positive, feeling good about the season, you should, because the Bears haven't lost any games yet. It's the off season, so a couple months before all that happens. But I think that there are signs, the players they brought, all the new additions, this team, I think, will be competitive in 2023. Maybe won't get that playoff berth. We'll have to see once they start playing games how Justin Fields looks in year two of Getsy's system. But a lot of signs pointing to where, the Bears may make a little noise there. As long as they're in the hunt graphic, like as the year goes on, like I think that's obviously way better than what the Bears were doing last year in 2022.
So you say in the hunt, but really for me, just of how the division is looking, I want to be in that hunt. Like I do think the Bears could be playing, meaningful games late November, early December, with the division still within grasp. There's a lot of divisional games around that time, and it will be very important for the Bears right there to kind of, that will kind of, I think, sway the season from a in the hunt kind of year to hey, we're knocking on the division door. It doesn't mean they need to win it, but I want them to be in contention in December this season. But when you just look at like what it takes to flip the script, obviously you have to bring in new talent, and the Bears have done that. We just went through that pretty extensively. You mentioned, how is this coaching staff going to handle it? We saw a lot of good things from Luke Getsy adapting to his team last year. Excited to see how he adapts to the new skill set of players, having a true wide receiver one. What kind of Devontae Adams-ish role can we find for DJ Moore in this offense? That really gets me excited thinking about those potential opportunities, having more red zone threats now with Tunyon here too. A speed guy in Scott, which when you watch 1920 Football Drive and you watch him run down the gauntlet at the combine, so smooth, like so impressively smooth. And then for the team, they have to build this chemistry, and that all begins really next week when OTAs kicks off too. So there's just, I think when you look at what it takes, the Bears did a lot of it. It's just a matter of putting and again, I'm going to use the term again, on paper, what this team looks like there, and applying it in real life situations out there on the field. And they have the potential, I think, to have a really strong, successful year, with double digits being a real possibility. It's just, I don't think if they get shy of that in that ballpark we talked about at the top of the segment, if they finish within 7-9, I think Bears fans should take it and be happy about what 2024 is going to look like with those additional resources coming in, both draft and free agency and money. But if they reach that double-digit number, I'm not going to complain. I'll be pretty thrilled.
Yeah, I don't think most Bears fans will complain if that ends up happening. Actually, I did see a good question, or someone commented somewhere on Twitter. It's like the Bears get like maybe it was double-digit victories, but lose both games to the Packers, or you beat the Packers twice and maybe miss the playoffs. Which one are you taking? Like that's interesting because obviously the Bears play the Packers week 1 and finish the season in Green Bay. But I think that would put a sour taste in a lot of Bears fans' mouth.
Yes.
The Bears were to open up, with the Green Bay Packers, a mid-afternoon game and lose that one to Jordan Love and the Packers after Aaron Rodgers leaves. But yeah, I think that's gonna set the tone for this season. How the Bears start off against the Packers, and obviously who they are at the beginning of week 1 is not who they're gonna end up being, week 18. But it's a good way to see how all these new pieces come together right away and see if they can beat I think a very beatable Packers team week 1.
Yeah. And again, like after dealing with Rodgers and prior to that, Brett Favre, as a Bears fan, my entire life, I am ready to just have this rivalry look different. I'm tired of being on the short end of the stick here. And that if, I'm feeling this way, and everyone listening can probably echo these sentiments, but you just have to hope that the players feel this. Like they feel like this is the opportunity for this to change. And if you want to be successful in Chicago, Lovie Smith was so correct when he got hired here back in 2004. The first words out of his mouth is like, we're going to beat Green Bay. And like he understood the assignment, and that's what we need to get back here to. Under Matt Eberflus, and I think he gets it. I think he understands it. Now with Rodgers gone, Jordan Love in place, it is a prime opportunity for Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears to take control of the rivalry. And if they do, that's only going to better their chances here, Nick, of being a double-digit win team, because I think that would instill week 1 a lot of confidence. What happens if they enter, you beat Green Bay week 1, you stumble across 8 other wins throughout the year, and then you're sitting there week 18 with the chance to get your 10th win against Green Bay too. Like that's what I love about, I'm calling it the season, like the schedule, like a Packer sandwich, because like they're the bookends of the schedule and everything else is like the meat inside. But like, that's what I get excited about. Like if you can start strong and finish strong against the biggest rival that we've had for 3 decades now, like that's going to do so much for this team's confidence moving forward. And I think would have a larger impact, not that's just this year, but 2024, 2025, like that can really just change, I think, the trajectory of this franchise. And that's why I'm so excited about the opportunity that they have here.
And well, you said if the players get it, and a big thing for Ryan Poles, going this offseason, like bringing in a lot of these local guys who understand this rivalry. They know exactly what it's like. And for a majority of their lives, like us, the Packers have been whooping the Bears' ass. So I think there is an understanding within the locker room, especially with those local guys, what that rivalry means and what the Bears can potentially do now that, number 12 ain't here anymore. So I think it's a great opportunity for the Bears to really change this narrative, to get back on the right track, to make this a rivalry again, and to, be on the winning side of things, because it's been a while. It's been way too long. And I think Bears fans obviously will want to see that.
If I ask you, putting it all out there, May 19th, do they get the double-digit wins or not? I think I know the answer, but I hate to assume. What would it be?
I'm going to go no for right now. When I looked at it, I think 9. Again, I said like that 7 to 10 range, but I'm looking again that 7 to 9 that Bears fans vote on that poll. But like I have the schedule in front of me, Will, and I didn't look at it for a majority of when I was
good
on vacation.
That's what vacation's for.
All I knew was like the Packers week 1 and that no Germany. So then when I was looking at it, I'm like, hey, week 2, that's not an easy game. It's the Bucs at noon. That's a good roster still. Yes, they don't have a high quality quarterback. It's Baker Mayfield, but that man came in on a 1 week rest or 1 week notice and beat the Las Vegas Raiders with the Rams. Like, so he did that. The Chiefs is going to be tough. Broncos, like, is that going to be the same Broncos? So there's a lot of these games we're looking at. Like, there are the one, I guess, gimme game. Like, they got to beat the Panthers, Will. Like, that's the game where the Bears I think, is that a Thursday night game if I'm
Yeah,
not
you do.
mistaken?
You have to do it for
Yeah,
draft position. Yeah, because if
exactly.
you lose that game, it makes you look silly. And
Hmm.
hey, look at that awesome graphic back up on our screen for the Bears schedule. But yeah, Nick, losing to Carolina would be, you talked about sour taste in Bears fans' mouth. When you just look at the schedule in terms of the opponent, that's one easily you'll
Hmm.
lose and you're going to be kind of pissed off about.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So like that Panthers game, like the Saints game isn't going to be easy either. And like Commanders, that's also another game where obviously it was close last year at Soldier Field on a Thursday nighter, but they have an incredible front seven. So there's a lot of these tough games here, but the Bears have a way better roster than they did a season ago. So it's like when I calculated it, there was a couple different ways he could have gone, but I think 9 was the one where I'm like, okay, this is probably where the Bears end up. Hopefully they get more than that, but 9 is kind of where I'm at.
Yep. It's hard to be like, hey, we're going to get 11 wins again. You kind of learn your lesson here and there. But I do think it's more possible than a lot of other, I would say, casual fans, either of the Bears or just of the league in general, from the outside looking in. Like, I do think they have better chances than most people think of finding a way to completely flipping the script and getting double-digit wins. And the one thing that I've been saying for years on this podcast is reasonable expectations will save you a lot of frustration and angst. So I did that last year. Obviously, it didn't turn out how I thought, but I'm going to sit there at 9, knowing that it's, a little cautiously optimistic still. But if they exceed that expectation, again, you're not going to hear me complain. And again, I won't be all too surprised. But we have to find out how that edge position gets addressed. And I do expect it to be like, on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being like it's gonna happen, 1 being like there's no way they bring in an edge. Like, I'm still at like a 9.5. Like, it's gonna happen. There's no way they enter this season without bringing in a more capable pass rusher to help out this defense. You put too much work on this entire roster to have it get squandered away because he didn't address one single need.
Yeah, well, I'm up there with you. I just don't know the quality of edge rusher of that Ryan Poles will bring eventually, and maybe that's right where training camp happens. Someone gets injured, could be around that time, but I think it does happen. They bring in some kind of veteran. Just don't know again who that will be and what that player is actually going to bring. But they just need to add more guys there, and unless they're feeling really good about the young guys that they have there, and Travis Gibson, Dominique Robinson, DeMarcus Walker, like it's still a position of need. And obviously Ryan Poles has said, like, you can't address everything in an offseason. Like, you look at how you can, retool a roster. That was obviously the position that kind of got left out this offseason. But like you, I do believe that Ryan Poles will add somebody there.
And he hasn't forced it, and I'm okay with that. He didn't force it in free agency. He didn't force it in the draft, even though a bunch of them went before the Bears were back on the clock in the second round. So I am okay with the patient approach. But I'm sure there's just someone there that's going to be available via trade, get cut, that can come in and still better this unit. I'm okay with the patient approach. It's going to help this team in the long run, even though it's a little frustrating to look at the roster right now and just see that big glaring need. But it will be addressed. My gut tells me so. Juan's like, not 10 will. No Bears hype this year. Man, if 9's not Bears hype this year, then if I need to go to 10, if that's what it takes to get everyone in Bears hype mode, I will fall on my sword and do that. But as of right now, I'm going to stick with 9. All right, great conversation here, Nick. We have a break that we need to get to, and we'll jump right back into it. So right now it's springtime, and really it's starting to feel like more like summer out there. And that's why you need to head over to FOCO to get fitted out in the best sports gear around. They have everything, hoodies for those chilly mornings, but you also got shoes, signs, bobbleheads, literally everything in between. It's like awesome hodgepodge of all things Chicago sports merch. And obviously with it being spring and baseball season, they have aloha shirts, straw hats, polos, I almost said pollo, like chicken. No, but polos, bags, everything that you need for a game. And of course, we're remote, but over on our set, they have given us, donated a few awesome pieces for the set. So we will love if you can go over and, show them some love too. So check out foco.com or click the link in the description below. That's here on YouTube, also on your podcast player of choice. And that will allow you to use the code CHGO, which will give you 10% off all non-pre-sale items. Again, go to the link description below for FOCO. Use code CHGO for 10% off.
Now,
All right.
Yeah.
Isn't this me? Because I'm not going to do this again, Nick. I'm not doing that again. All right. Yeah. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities that they serve, helping manage every energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future.
Yeah, ComEd offers a wide variety of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across the territory. ComEd also offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities like for HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes.
That sounds really fascinating. Can you explain a little bit more about how that works?
I got you, Will. An authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. So quick, simple, and works to, your schedule there. And within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated saving costs, cost saving project costs, potential incentives, and simple payback. And if you own a business, don't wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy saving tips, lighting incentives, or to schedule your free facility assessment, go to comed.com/poweringbiz.
Sorry, internet kind of cuts out once in a while. Did you say comed.com/poweringbiz?
I did, Will. So go schedule it today.
Awesome stuff. This is the CHGO Bears Podcast, and our offseason coverage is brought to you by the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program. Learn more at comed.com/poweringbiz. This is Will DeWitt, joined by Nicholas Moreano, and we just had a great conversation about whether or not the Bears can reach double-digit wins. We do have a poll going on YouTube right now that you should definitely partake in. Let us know your thoughts about the Bears and how they will kind of achieve or not achieve this season. And then we will share those results here later on in the show. But I think we have some supers that we can kind of pull up here before we talk about Darnell Mooney. And this one comes from the Bears. Do I get to say Bears Bastard? Well, that's his name, so I'm going to say it. Glad you brought up Edge. Honest assessment from you guys. What do you think the holdup is? How much more, quote, work or, quote, due diligence can they be doing on the vets available? And I think this is a really good point about it is May 19th. Like, what kind of, why haven't you made a move just yet? My gut is the right person for the right price just has not presented itself yet. I'm sure they've had some conversations with guys who are available who just haven't signed. It just hasn't matched up. And I do think Poles is someone who he said this before too in multiple interviews, like he has a number in mind for a player and he doesn't really budge on that. And we saw that with Roquan Smith being a prime example of like, hey, here's your value on this team. No, you don't agree. Okay, you're a Raven. So I do think it's in terms of like value and making sure he's not recklessly spending the Bears cash. There's plenty of it, but it doesn't mean you need to, be dishing it out willy-nilly here.
No, yeah. And I think that's a part of the equation. Training camp's going to be a part of the equation where veterans get cut all the time and where other teams can look into these guys and then pick them up. So I think if nothing gets done until that training camp period starts in mid-July, then that's when it's going to happen. So I don't think right now, like the due diligence and work that Ryan Poles and his staff are doing, I think they know exactly who is available and what they bring to the table. Especially they also got to look at like injury history and the medical reports on these guys too as well. But I think he has an understanding, a blueprint, a list of guys that he likes. And then when it comes to that training camp time, once things happen, if they predict there's going to be certain training camp battles, right? That maybe one of those guys doesn't make the cut for their team, you can go and then offer him a contract and then bring him onto your squad. And if you're a veteran too, like I would want to not go attend training camp and kind of go into a new team in August during the preseason, save your body a little bit. Like it makes sense if you're, an older veteran looking to kind of avoid some of that stuff. Yes, you lose the camaraderie and chemistry you'll develop with your teammates, but that's also another thing that players can also be considering as they're looking at potential options for their future.
It's a long season, and luckily, I think if it is a veteran, seasoned edge rusher and it's a fit within the system, like what more can they learn from an off-season program right now? Besides the chemistry building and the camaraderie that you mentioned, I do believe both are very important. I don't want to discredit that, but you are right that there are some players available who kind of meet that requirement of you don't need that whole off-season program to be here, save your body, like you said. But there definitely are other guys out there that I think if the Bears want to sign them, they should soon, so that way they do get in this building and get acclimated. And really, another. Well, you can look at it two ways. Either you bring them in so you can start challenging some of the younger guys on this too, your Travis Gibsons, your Dominic Robinsons. That can help. But then the flip side of the coin is if that guy's waiting until August, if the Bears don't address it until training camp, at least now in OTAs, you get a more, you get longer looks at some of these other guys on your roster. You give them some more reps, more opportunities, which could also help you coming up to the season. So you have a much stronger understanding of like, okay, this is the guy who's going to be the other starter, and these are rotational pieces after you add in that other top tier starting talent. Interesting, though.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Will. I mean, look at for the Bears, like they obviously drafted Jack Sanborn was brought on. He had all those opportunities in training camp to make a name for himself. Like that was, and yes, the Bears had some veterans at the linebacker position, but he still outshined some of those guys. So there's benefits, drawbacks to how, Poles can approach this, but, I think Bears fans like what Poles has done, are supportive of what he's done. So you just gotta, let the plan keep carrying out. He has a plan in place. Just let's see what Poles can continue to do here.
Would you say we should have let him finish the story?
Finish the story, let him cook, however you want to do it, Will. Yes, continue.
Perfect. I was just
Cody Rhodes. Yeah.
Yeah, Nick wasn't going to get it, but I just wanted him to lead into it so we can get to Ramsey's super chat here. See? Transitions. They are a beautiful thing. So Ramsey said with Nick vacationing in Jurassic Park and Will's American Nightmare Cody Rhodes shirt last week. My geek to sports life has come full circle. Great show, boys, and you make traffic fly by. I'm glad that we do. And man, I need to get so last year I took a photo with Cody Rhodes. About a month ago, I got it autographed at a house show. So I got to find a way to frame it here so I can stare at it fondly as I'm podcasting.
I was going to say, put it somewhere in the green screen background and it somehow shows up, but
there it is.
It's there. I promise it's there.
Yeah, actually, I probably could do that on the show. I'm not going to complicate this for myself. My phone's upstairs anyway. Never mind. Can't do it. Forgot it's up there. Charging. Lovely. But no, thank you, Ramsey, A, for the super chat, and B, for the kind words. It really does go a long way. It made my Friday afternoon. And one more super came in from Alan. I hope everyone realizes by adding great players, the players around them will amplify. The example was Edwards and Edmonds. It will make Sanborn a true San God. And again, that's the one thing, and I totally agree with this comment because yeah, Sanborn is not going to be your starting Mike. That's just what's going to happen now. But I think he could be a hell of a Sam. And obviously he was in the same building with Roquan for a bit. But then afterwards, the talent drop off was huge. But now he's going to be paired with two top 5 linebackers in the NFL. And on top of that, Sanborn in the last half of the season was ranking right up there with them. So I do think, iron sharpens iron if we want to throw more of those metaphors out here today, Nick. But yeah, by adding more players, and if you want to look at offense, I think a prime example will be wide receiver and DJ Moore, amplifying everybody else in that room, including Justin Fields under center.
No, that's exactly where I was going to go, Will. You look at the quality of players the Bears are bringing in, the guys that are underneath, the number one starter. You mentioned DJ Moore, that helps elevate Darnell Mooney, who's coming back from injury, Chase Claypool. All these guys become better because you're raising the floor of the overall room. And that's how good teams win these games. You have more talent on the roster. And I think that's always going to be a good thing. So we see this team gain some momentum, have that confidence. They only won 3 games last season, but had a really good attitude throughout the locker room. Imagine when they start winning. That carries over. It definitely carries over, especially maybe after a primetime victory. That will happen. That it's a part of the locker room culture. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that happen for the Bears in 2023.
Again, I'm going to say it one more time because I don't think it can be said enough here this offseason. Again, a 3-win team, 7 of those losses were 1 score. A lot of it was dropped off by the defense, with Justin scoring over 30 points a game for that one stretch, that magical stretch. And that's without an offensive line. That's without a wide receiver 1. We have an offensive line. We have a wide receiver 1. We have a tight end number 2. We have a 3 running back deep room. And then we talked about the defense too, an improved front 7, stopping the run, a secondary that can hold its own against, I think, any receiving core in the league now. Like, there are reasons to believe this team can be, I'm not going to say special, but they're going to be much improved, and you're going to feel it on a week to week basis of like, because last year's like, oh, how are they going to find a way to stick in it and keeps our hopes up? And like, that's frustrating, right? And this is going to be different. I think the vibe's going to be different. Close games, you don't win them all, but you're winning more of them. And like you said, that's going to instill a lot of confidence up in this young team too. That's another thing. This team is still very young compared to a lot of the other teams out there now too. And I think for Ryan Poles, it's a great foundation that he's starting to set here in Chicago. And again, as he continues to build upon it with additional resources, 2 first-rounders next year, I can't wait. All right, speaking of Darnell Mooney, we did mention him a few times here. He was on the St. Brown Brothers podcast. Wow, brothers in a podcast name. Who would have thought? And we just wanted to share some of our takeaways, other than his sense of humor, by the way, which did surprise me. Darnell Mooney's sense of humor. There's a few, I think, major things we can talk about. And I think the very first takeaway I had, which made me literally laugh out loud, is when he told Amon-Ra, there we go, that the lion's going to lion. Like, that's just what they do. And I love the little bit of smack talk that was going on. It was like friendly smack talk, if there is such a thing there on the show, a little bit of a banter. But even Darnell Mooney knows, like, the Lions are just going to lion.
No, yeah, it's a fun podcast to listen to, the 33rd team with the St. Brown's brothers. And yeah, like you said, his humor, Darnell's, definitely stands out. You don't see too much of that in the locker room, but he was quick with it too, like how Equanimous and Amon-Ra were kind of talking about. So you'll just have to go and listen to it to find out what we're talking about. But yeah, they kind of threw it back and forth at each other. Amon-Ra was talking to them, about the Bears, like, hey, your connection keeps lagging out. It's just like the Bears season last year. And, Darnell Mooney needs to figure out what's going on with the camera kept getting hot. Like, I'm like,
I've never experienced that in my life. What camera did he buy? I mean, obviously his budget goes a little bit further than you and I, but even we have webcams that don't get hot.
Yeah, so that's something that hopefully when I see him in the locker room, I'll be like, bro, what's up here? What's going on here? So
give him a recommendation,
Yeah, for sure. Let me help you set it up, and we'll play Call of Duty, whatever. But I think one of the main takeaways, and especially early on in the podcast, Amon-Ra asked him, about his injury and like how he's kind of feeling. And Darnell, and that podcast was released May 18th, so yesterday. And Darnell said he has started running, started cutting, said he'll be 100%, does have screws still in his foot, so he'll be a little bit robotic. But it's encouraging that he's starting to cut at this point right now. And obviously OTAs are next week. So I don't think you're seeing Darnell Mooney out there, running routes on air at any time soon, but he is feeling better and should be ready hopefully by the season.
Yeah. He mentioned that they had the tightrope, I think is what they call it, procedure. And by robotic, I think he just feels robotic because he has like mechanical parts now in him. I don't think he's going to like be stiff like a robot, but it does make the ankle locked in. EQ said he had it done after his second year in the league, and he didn't even have like that kind of an injury, but it like locked that ankle into place for him. And I think Mooney referenced that the doctor kind of like jokingly is like, well, so when are we going to just do it to your other ankle now to kind of lock them both into place? But yeah, the fact that he's starting to move now and that the Bears want to see him do some of these things before a payday kind of happens. Was a fascinating development here. They want to see him run before a deal, but he did also mention like, I'm not in a rush like for that to happen. And again, it goes back to the Darnell Mooney that we've been told is here in Chicago in terms of like what kind of person he is. And obviously he would like to have that security. He would enjoy to get a payday, but the fact he's like, I'm not rushing it. I understand it's a process. He understands where he's at with his rehab. And just kind of as another example to me of like, this is a man like with his head like on his shoulders, like, and head's on straight.
No doubt about it, Will. And I think for Darnell Mooney, there is a sense of pressure that, has probably felt like obviously he needs to come off of this ankle injury. He broke his fibula and ball out this season to hopefully get that contract. And maybe he gets done before that after you see how he's moving and things like that. But I think for Darnell Mooney being a later round draft pick, it's like this proving himself is nothing new. And so I think for him, like we know how the Bears feel about him. Like I remember being in that press box and Ryan Poles vividly, just yelling out like in frustration after he got hurt, not mad at Darnell Mooney, but mad that he got hurt. Like, and obviously that Jets game, ended his season. So I think ideally the Bears would like to get a contract extension done with Darnell Mooney. You just got to also be financially smart too. You're not going to extend a guy that isn't the same player. Right. And hopefully Darnell Mooney comes back, is able to do everything he was doing prior to the injury. And if he does so, then I think he will get another contract with the Bears here. Another thing that was also mentioned, and actually going back to the tightrope real quick, Will, that was the same thing that N'Keal Harry actually got early on in the season when he got the injury. So that was reported on August 11th when it was saying that N'Keal Harry was going to get the tightrope surgery. He didn't play his first game with the Bears until October 24th. So, it's like a 2-month span, but obviously we don't know exactly when Mooney got the surgery and how long. It's different for everybody. And
this is when we need
person
Mason
to talk to. Yes, exactly. When we need Mason West here to kind of go through the timeline of things, but it's obviously something that players can come back from. And you mentioned Equanimeous St. Brown got the same thing. So I'm just hoping for a clear, good recovery for Darnell Mooney, because that guy deserves, everything that's coming his way. And Bears fans, I'm sure would love him. DJ Moore is a good wide receiver duo moving forward.
When they mentioned DJ, I thought both receivers were very just casual about it and didn't want to give a lot away. I couldn't tell if they're like a little butthurt, like there's like another guy in their room, but I don't think that's the case. But they're just kind of like, yeah, he's good. He's good. He's just running routes on air right now, but yeah, he's going to be a good fit. There wasn't a lot of extra there, which is fine. You literally have a divisional opponent on the call too, so you don't want to give it all up. But a couple of just funny takeaways I had that I'll just ramble real quick. The fact that Darnell Mooney was dead set he was going to make it to the NBA was awesome, and he said he can ball. And I guess Dante Pettis has like the best shot in the team based off of what they're talking about too. So that was an interesting one for me. Amon-Ra said that Soldier Field's grass was, and I quote, ass. But you got new turf. And Mooney said, yeah, but that one's still bad too. And then EQ didn't even know that they shared the stadium with soccer. Like he had no idea. That was the thing. And then just one more takeaway that I thought was just kind of comical was the fact that EQ literally, you can tell, hates playing in cold weather. Like if you go back and you watch it, and they mentioned playing in cold weather, and like he's like, the first thing I do is I look at those December games and I want to see where I'm playing, if it's going to be in the cold weather or not. And then he genuinely, like when they said like it's going to be a tough end of the year for us being outside, like he kind of looked a little concerned, a little worried, and a little pissed off. I don't think he likes cold weather.
No, I obviously played in Notre Dame in college, so you're going to play in cold weather. But looking at the last 6 weeks, like how Equanimeous St. Brown mentioned that stretch, and Darnell Mooney also mentioned that too, like when he said it first. But you play the Lions, and that's going to be at Soldier Field. You play at Cleveland. You play the Cardinals at Soldier Field. Play the Falcons at Soldier Field, and then you go to Green Bay. So when they're talking about a tough stretch of cold games, obviously none of those are indoors. And so that's going to be a cold stretch for them. Mooney also said when he looked at the schedule that he looks for like those top-notch opponents. I mentioned Kansas City, which the Bears will play in week 3. So looking forward to that matchup, and hopefully doing some good things against Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously the pinnacle of what the NFL is in terms of good teams there. But I think the goals that he mentioned too was interesting. He's like, obviously he's going to ball out, of course. No more respect on his name. He's just disrespecting everyone now. and obviously wants to win. And I remember that was a big thing for, Darnell. Like, I want people, respect. Now, going the opposite way, I'm going to disrespect everyone. So I'm hopeful again. Darnell Mooney can go out there, show that disrespect to each opponent that he faces, and is able to have that ball out season that he's looking for.
And hopefully, I think too, this is, again, I probably overanalyze some of these things, but so Amon Ra mentioned, because they asked like Mooney, like, where do you like to play? And he said the slot. There's just so much room to operate in a slot. And he said, teams typically put their third best corner there in the slot too. So you're getting an easier matchup. And then Amon Ra was like, yeah, but some of the smarter teams are starting to put their best player in the slot now. And my mind went immediately to like what the Bears were hoping Kyler Gordon can become here in Chicago. So I was like, okay, that's smart. And then Amon Ra said, yeah, the Packers do it with Alexander. Like they do that. Like I've seen it. And both Mooney and EQ's like, yeah, no, we've never seen that. So I was wondering if it's because the Bears wide receiver core has been so bad, they don't have to do that against the Bears by putting Alexander in the slot on third down. But Amon Ra sees it because we know how lethal he is. We know how he can be, especially on third down. So hopefully this year we see Jair go into the slot on third down, because that would mean Green Bay respects and fears the Bears wide receiver room. Just saying.
No, that's a good point, Will. Like obviously last season you didn't have that bona fide guy. I think what Justin Fields was throwing in the game at Soldier Field, it was N'Keal Harry, Equanimous St. Brown. Was Darnell Mooney still? Was that prior to the? I don't even remember. I think he was on the field, but it just obviously didn't have the talent that you do now. So it's going to be a little different now with how teams are going to play the Bears and who they're going to want to match up wise with all the weapons that they now have on offense.
Awesome. Great stuff there from Darnell Mooney. Glad he hopped on that podcast. And on top of that, I'm glad we were able to kind of break it down and talk about it here and, share it, because not everyone sees that. And then, of course, I think there were some really good takeaways and nuggets inside of that. And again, like they had no clue that Jair does that. And I thought that was fascinating. Like, don't they at least watch film? Shouldn't they at least see that? I don't know. That was really weird to me. They had no clue and seemed a little shocked by it. But regardless, we're going to be back in just a moment. We're going to share a couple of messages, and then we'll kind of answer some questions to wrap up the show. So if you have a Bears question, definitely ask it here in the chat. And if you want to make sure we get to it, make sure it's a super chat, because there's already 2 in there, and we're only down to about 8 minutes. So time is of the essence. But Nick, you're up first with a message from Goose.
Yeah, CHGO is supported by Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer since 1988. So many great options, like the Blackhawks Pale Ale, Tropical Beer Hug, 312 Wheat Ale, Full Pocket Pills. They got it all at Goose Island. And, regardless of what beer, not just the ones I mentioned that you get, you're going to be getting a good beer. Trust me. And you can grab an ultra fresh brewery exclusive beers at the Goose Island's original brew house on Clybourne Avenue in Lincoln Park, or from their tap room on Fulton Street in Westtown. So Goose Island Beer Company, you already know, is Chicago's beer.
Awesome. Let's take on the sun now with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm weather with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays are an independent sunglasses company. They offer world-class product that is good as any expensive pair that we've worn. Durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. Again, I'm literally rocking Shady Rays. I bought in 2019, and I have a baby now who loves to just take my sunglasses and, just torture them, but they're still holding up. They're extremely durable. And of course, they have the best replacement program in all of eyewear. So if you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they will send you a brand new one. No questions asked. And I love Shady Rays because together with their customers, they provide much needed support to nonprofit partners across the United States through Shady Rays Impact. From building play sets for pediatric cancer patients to providing young adults with MS the outdoor adventure of a lifetime, Shady Rays is making an impact in your community and others like it now and for years to come. Really love that. So for our listeners, Shady Rays, they are giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO. That will get you 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. All right, well, DeWitt and Nicholas Moreano, CHGO Bears Podcast. It is an audible day, and apparently we need more likes on this video. Is that what I'm gathering?
I think we can always use more lights.
Here's the thing. I put a little comment in the chat a little while ago. It's just that, we put a poll up, and there's 223 votes on it at the moment. How come there's only 90 likes? It's just another click.
It's the same button. It's like it's the same amount of effort.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Well, how about this? Like this video if you believe the Bears can reach double-digit wins.
There you go.
And if you think the Bears can't reach double-digit wins, like this video. It's really simple. Thank you. We appreciate it for sure. Joking aside. All right, let's throw up these super chats real quick here, Sir Lawrence. Edward says, besides edge rusher, what positions still need to be improved? And this is a really good question. I saw it pop up, and I've been sitting on it. Is it weird that it's hard to come up with another one right now? It's obviously you can always improve. You can always look to be adding more. I mean, you can say 2 edges if you want here, but really, I feel good. If we want to go room by room, safeties, I feel fine about. Corners, I feel fine about. Linebacker, good. Interior defensive line, yeah, you invested enough draft picks. Let them develop. Edge, you need a few. Maybe offensive line still you can keep adding to, just because you can't have too many good offensive linemen. But regardless, compared to last year, I feel good with the room. Wide receiver, I feel good with the room. Tight end, I feel good with the room. Running back, I feel really good with the room. And quarterback, I feel great with the room. Like that, and this is why we go back to the first topic, Nick. There's reasons for optimism here. But if you had to choose, like, what would it be?
Yeah, I think I'm looking at it would be RW528 center is the next thing that comes to mind for me. And you're going to have you have Cody White here there, and then you have Lucas Patrick as like your depth there. But a young center moving forward would be ideal to have, and going into the interior offensive line as well. Obviously, you have Nate Davis, who signed that 3-year deal when he came to Chicago, but we got to see what Tevin Jenkins right now. Obviously moving to a different position. I want him to succeed. I would love for him to, remain in Chicago. He's a great guy, and he's had uphill battle here. But it does go back to again the offensive line, right? And we want to see Braxton Jones excel in year 2, but also getting another left tackle, just that purpose, just to have that stability there for the Bears offensive line and for Justin Fields, but. It is like you, Will. I saw this pop up earlier. I'm like, crap, we're going to get to this question, and I want to make sure I answer it right. But it was a little difficult to be like, oh, they need to get this outside of edge. It was difficult, which I think is a good situation for the Bears to be in.
Am I back?
Oh, there he is. Oh my God, I got scared there. I was like, Nick, Will is
okay?
He's very, very calm right now. He's just.
Am I okay?
You are good.
You're good.
You're back.
The air conditioner kicked on and it kicked off my internet.
That's what
I had the power went out and came back on earlier this morning. I don't know what's going on here.
Strange. No, I heard the fan kick on over here for the AC, and then everything here just went disconnected. I was like, that effing sucks, to be honest. But no, I just want to say, that's a testament to Ryan Poles for this offseason to go from the worst record in the league, first overall pick, to May 19th, where we're actually having to think about what are other needs outside the one position. That, again, he's being very calculated and deliberate before he makes an actual addressing of this need. So I do think that's a testament to him, and he should get some praise and some kudos for that. And Nick, the only thing I wanted to say about interior offensive line, center is hey, one thing at a time. Sam Mustipher's officially gone. All right. Like he signed with another team. That's a victory in its own right. We'll add more guys, but the fact that we know Musty's not coming back, I think that's enough for one offseason.
He's with the Baltimore Ravens, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And my brother's a Ravens fan. And as soon as I saw that, I was like,
hey, depth purpose guy, good in the locker room, but yeah, it should not be the starting center for, obviously Bears fans know that, but yes, no, that is a good point. It did see I guess could you have more cornerback? You can have depth at every single position. You can always have more depth, but if Jalen Johnson were to go down, that would be a problem. That'd be obviously you can put Kyler Gordon out there, and then you have to figure out the nickel, and you have some young guys that played there at the end of the season. But yes, we can always use more depth at literally every single position because injuries are going to happen. But initially, if you're looking at the starting group and taking away edge, it's not like oh, that's the answer right there. It's not,
or
not
it's not like we have a list. I think that's the most important thing is like, we can't sit here and like, okay, well, outside of edge, we have wide receiver, like we had at the top of the offseason, offense line, defense, the interior defensive line. Like we can't like quickly scribble down a list. And I think that, again, that's a good thing and a good sign for the Bears. And again, the term I kept using at the top of the show is on paper. This is looking good and on paper. And that's, I think, a key differentiator at this time. All right, we got one more super chat here from Oscar letting me know that I have to go to the Bucs-Panthers game in week 18 because he believes the Panthers will give us the number 1 pick in the draft. So I need to buy my tickets and go because, of course, I'm good luck. I went to that Colts-Texans game, and that all worked out perfectly for us. Everyone, you're welcome. I actually was going through my phone because, as you know, Will had a good time that game. I was like, what did I actually record? And I do have the Hail Mary on my phone. I did get that recorded. So I have like my little view from the 40-yard line of that Hail Mary that really is the reason why I think this offseason for the Bears was as successful as it has been so far. So
yeah, that'd
good
be a
call
good game
there,
to
Oscar.
go to, Will. Especially if that's it doesn't matter where it's at. It's going to be better.
I just have to be there.
Be in Indy. Yeah, do it, Will. Just go there week 18 and have a good time.
All right. Sean says, will JF1 be the next highest paid QB in the NFL? I don't want to say like no. Hold on. I don't want to say like no in terms of like he's going to struggle. I just feel like someone's going to get another deal first. But if Justin reaches his potential or even gets close to it, it makes the Bears believe he can continue to like be that guy. Just how contracts are going, like he could end up breaking it just because of like how the trend is and how the market continues to get reset and people do overpay at this position. But it would be interesting because on one hand, everything I just said, and then on the other hand is Ryan Poles, who has been very frugal with his money. And it would be interesting to see if he's being frugal for a potential big payday for a franchise quarterback, which, man, I mean, that would be a big reason to, be a penny pincher right now.
Yeah, and obviously Jalen Hurts reset everything, but you also got to think like Joe Burrow. They're going to have the extension talks with him and, redoing his contract. Herbert with the Chargers, who the Bears will play. So there are other quarterbacks too that even if a deal were to get done with Justin Fields, like,
is that Nick now or is it me again?
What's going on here?
We hear you, Will.
So it's me. So it's me being okay, but now Nick froze out.
Oh,
no, I see Nick. Everything's fine. I'm hearing him.
This is Friday StreamYard shenanigans, and I blame the producer. I'm sorry.
Getting Friday fried is what's happening.
Yeah, Friday fried. But I'm here, Will. I'm moving on my end, and maybe not on your end, but yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, so you got. I think we should end this show before like the third time. That'd be strike 3, I think, if it kind of craps out again here. Nick, any final thoughts, and then I'll wrap it up.
No, it was good to be back with you, Will, for this Friday edition of our CHGO Bears podcast and continue the trend throughout this offseason. You know where to come to get your Bears coverage. It's here at CHGO. We're going to have great stuff. OTAs are starting up, so don't want to miss any of the coverage we're going to have all next week until OTAs are over, and then training camp will be here eventually. So it'll be great.
That's right. We're about to hit that summer period. I'm excited to see what content we come up with between now and training camp. We have a lot of players. I think it's time to preview and revisit and set some expectations for the season. But like you, Nick, I'm glad you're back. Thanks for showing up and having a great show here with me today. Love when you and I get to hop on here, kick it old school, and have a really great Chicago Bears focused conversation. Thanks to everyone here in the chat for being so engaged throughout the entirety of the show. Please, if you haven't yet, hit the like button. And before I go, we did this poll. I need to know the results, Lawrence. Where do Bears fans' heads lie right now in terms of those wins?
All right. So like I said, there are more votes than there are likes, but we'll get past that. We asked the question, can the Bears get to 10 plus wins in 2023? Currently, 71% say yes.
Wow. Love it. I love optimism. It does breed positivity, and let's just keep this same energy between now, the regular season, and throughout it. But awesome results there in the poll. Thanks, Law, for getting that picked up over there on the side. But I'm going to call that an episode. Thanks again, everyone. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't yet on the way out. I understand you're so engaged in this conversation. It takes some time to hit it, but we're going to stop talking now. So you have all the time in the world to do so. But until next time, bear down, Chicago.